with Dan Diggs from Press for Truth, Josh Sigurdson from World Alternative Media, and Luke Rudowski from We Are Change. And this is a media panel on what the hell we're going to do with this Orwellian censorship that is coming down hard. So I guess I'm going to ask you first, since this affected you most recently. Can you explain what happened with YouTube censorship, how related to maybe what you were posting like a few days before it happened?
Sure. First of all, I see this as a wave of phases. Because if they just pulled the plug on us right away, they would kind of martyr us in a way. So there was the first phase, which was the YouTube adpocalypse.
Yeah.
That was like 2017 or early 2018, I believe. Then we moved on to the Facebook sweep, where all of a sudden they started removing people there. And now we're on to phase 3, which is the Vox adpocalypse, where they've just completely demonetized a few of our channels. So it seems like they're taking incremental steps to start to silence voices such as ours. And I hate to say it, but I think they're going to move on to phase 4, 5, and 6 soon. But this presents an interesting opportunity for us. New doors are potentially going to be opening because of this. And honestly, we're at a fork in the road moment, and I'm kind of excited about what this might lead to. So yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Me too. It's like you said, it's almost like kicking your ass in gear kind of. You know, we've relied on the evil partners for too long, and now it's time to really sever the ties. So, have you experienced any internet censorship recently?
Oh yeah, it never ends. I mean, one of the things I've been saying a lot lately, especially as they've been cracking down further, and they have been for years incrementally, is that I find the harder we work, the more they crack down on us, but the more they crack down on us, the harder it makes us work. I mean, they're basically creating a beast. This is why people left mainstream media in the first place and go to things like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. And eventually, the market will decide. People will leave YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. The issue right now is where are they going to go? And that's one of the things that we've all been discussing a lot lately as we saw people like Dan get demonetized. I'm not completely demonetized yet, but I saw this years ago as they started to cut down how much money per view you would get, and then slowly they started shadow banning, and then they started unsubscribing people randomly from the channel and getting rid of likes and stuff like that, and then posting on different platforms. And when Zuckerberg said, we are hurting the public by allowing them to see these pages talking about these ideas, we want it to be centered around family, and we're going to stop you from being able to see what pages are posting now unless you click see first. And it's like, wait a second, can I decide on that? Instead of you just going, all of you guys can no longer see this stuff. It's like, wait, I think I should be able to have a bit of a say in what I see. And this is all incrementally turned into, like, they're trying to normalize it and make it seem like it's, you know, just a slight differentiation from yesterday, when if you look 5 years, 8 years back, it's such a huge change from what we used to see. I mean, it's almost impossible at this point for someone to just start a brand new YouTube channel, not completely, but mostly, to just start off new and actually get anywhere with spreading that information. I got in kind of at the end in like 2013 was the last kind of hump where you could actually get that information out to a bigger audience before they started cracking down on people with less than 1,000 subscribers and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're creating a beast in the end with this system that they're unrolling, because people naturally are very anti-establishment. People naturally rebel against establishment.
Yeah, and we're kind of being pushed into a corner, you know what I mean? So defense makers does that.
Absolutely.
Luke, how about you, dude? What's your experience with this nonsense?
Well, squeaky clean, no nonsense, totally monetized, everything's fine, hunky-dory. You know, YouTube's great at, respecting the fact that their CEO was confronted at a secret cabal meeting of the world's most powerful and influential people at a Chatham House Rule meeting, and we did that at Bilderberg a couple years ago, and had their CEO walking down the street, politely talk to him. No repercussions at all from that. I did it again with Dan Diggs here at Press for Truth just a couple days ago. Yeah, no problems. Hunky-dory, everything's lovely and beautiful and shiny, and gotta believe the mainstream media. You know, we gotta fight the hate speech, gotta fight wrong think, and the corporations, the monopolies, and globalists will take care of us and know what's right for us.
I have a question for Dan, actually. What is the process when they decide to demonetize you? Is there like an appeal process? Do they give you a justification for what they did? Do they cite the rules you've broken? Like, what exactly happens when they decide that, that's it?
Well, they said the reason stated was I'm producing hateful content. And there is an appeal process, but they said I'm going to have to figure out which videos I'm going to need to remove if I want to move forward and remonetize again. And that's up for me to try to figure out which ones they've deemed that I am being hateful on.
So they don't even have to specify what video or what specifically was said in a particular video. They just have to generally say that something hateful was in your library of videos.
That's correct, and they've given me somewhat of a hint as to what kind of material they may be talking about, because at the same day that I was demonetized, they removed one video from my channel, and that was a video where I was exposing pedophiles. So I don't know what that tells you.
I mean, not to go too far down that rabbit hole, but what was that about? What do you mean? What do you think there's a lot of other comparable videos, so what do you think you touched on that ruffled feathers?
Well, I think they're using the excuse of protecting children, because the video showed an 11-year-old boy, Desmond is amazing, and I talked about the fact that, he was dancing in strip clubs, basically having dollar bills stuck down his pants, and I think they use the excuse that to protect the children, we can't be talking about this sort of thing.
But meanwhile, the mainstream media promotes it on a regular basis, and you can't really go anywhere on Facebook without it being shoved right in your face.
So I see the appeal process is almost like a trap. That if I get it wrong and I don't figure out which ones are, then they'll remove my channel. So I don't think I'm going to try to remonetize my channel at all. I don't. It feels like a trap, and I want to just figure out how to make money elsewhere now.
And can I point out that when you go on YouTube, one of the biggest problems that there is currently on YouTube, which they kind of talked a little bit about in January when they did a bit of a crackdown, is that pedophile content is huge on YouTube. Just children doing gymnastics is some of the most popular stuff on YouTube. Yet, if you call that out, that risks children. Well, what about all these children that are being exploited on YouTube? And they used that as an excuse to crack down a while back ago on YouTube this last January. And it hurt a lot of people's content, because if you saw like a kid walk by in the background of a video, they would just shut down your channel from having comments on it. They would shut down comments on your videos. And I'm like, is that how you do it? Or maybe get rid of the massive amounts of children doing backflips and stuff that have millions of views and a bunch of creepy old men commenting on it. I mean, it's really strange how they tackle these problems that they largely create in the first place, and it tells you a lot about what's accepted versus what's not accepted. What's accepted is children being exploited. What's not accepted is you talking about how terrible it is that children are being exploited. And what does that tell you about the establishment behind these major corporations?
I would say that there's some nefarious, information that's being held from us. I mean, that's a clear agenda. You know what I mean? And it seems like there are just certain hot key topics that just immediately get censored. Like the pedophilia thing's one. I know a lot of. I mean, that even ties into politics and stuff, because we have the Clinton emails and all that stuff.
They actually released a list. Gender is on the list. Immigration is on this list. So if you talk about immigration, you may be on the chopping block for producing hateful content. There was a number of things on this list, but I remember gender and immigration were on there. It's like, wow, so you can't talk about immigration in general anymore without that being so-called hateful?
Talking about 9/11,
and
stuff like that.
Who defines hate?
Yeah.
I mean, what is hate speech? Who defines it? We're seeing who's defining it. The Trudeau government is defining that I'm hateful, and that's just insane.
Well, yeah, the Trudeau government in Canada gave a massive multi-$100 million bailout to mainstream medias, and now is deciding which medias are hateful and which medias are accepted in the country. And we saw that in France a few years ago as well. And exactly, how do you define hate speech? You can basically define it as whatever. I think what's hate speech is the government-sponsored ads all over YouTube and Facebook, where I have defense departments and contractors with the Defense Department promoting war and destruction in the Middle East on my videos. I'll post a video, and at the end, it's like about the monetary system. And at the end, there's suddenly this join the military ad. Isn't that hate speech? I mean, you're telling children to go be used as pawns to go die in another country. Isn't that considered hate speech? But no, talking about how terrible people who victimize children are, that's hate speech. And that tells you, again, a whole lot about the culture we're living in, or what they're trying to manifest with this kind of censorship.
Basically trying to back you into a corner so you can't say anything.
Well, they're trying to control the narrative moving forward. In Canada, we have a federal election coming up in October. So it's quite literally trying to control the narrative by snuffing out anybody who goes against the status quo or anybody who might hinder Trudeau's chances of getting selected again.
Or in the United States with the 2020 election, we saw what happened in the 2016 election. There's a huge censorship crackdown on YouTube, and I think it has a lot to do, almost everything to do with politics. It's all politics. It's all theater. It's all meant to distract us, and it's like Orwellian doublespeak. It's like good is bad and bad is good, and
Yes.
you know, love is you know, hate, and hate is love, and peace and war are the same thing. I mean, it's exactly what you would find in an Orwellian book, except for we've gotten past that point. And I've often said we're no longer in 1984 anymore. We're in 2084, and we're far beyond any science fiction we could have ever imagined.
I agree with that too. Like, and most of the things in that book, it was like book burning, like by fire. You know what I mean? There were no blockchains. There were no any of this crazy tech stuff that's so abstract and powerful. So yeah, we are. That's actually really cool. 2084. That's like a nice.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic of globalists, and you guys were just at Bilderberg recently, correct? All three of you?
They
or just
were,
them two?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, where were you, Josh?
Too many chefs in the kitchen.
And I guess I wanted to direct this one at Luke, actually, because when I first heard of your work, it was hearing the story of you confronting Henry Kissinger. And I feel like a lot of people might not know exactly how you got access to Henry Kissinger and what was said. But you mind recapping that story? Because that was at a similar event, correct?
There's been many Kissinger stories. There's been 5 different, I think even more. I'm just too incompetent to even edit all the videos together. There's been a number of incidences and collaborations and meetings and very friendly, nice conversations that I had with Mr. Dr. Kissinger that people could just go watch by typing in We Are Change and Henry Kissinger, essentially, and then see the videos for yourself. Pretty entertaining conversations. Didn't go as expected, but entertaining to say the least. But continuing on this kind of like larger conversation that's happening here, I do believe that we are seeing a kind of deliberate dumbing down idiocracy programming of society to push people towards the complete opposite of what reality is. We're seeing small, individual, mom and pop shop, independent journalists who are better representatives of the people, of the populace, obviously, because it's a decentralized, local level reporting of sharing information. We're seeing people convinced that that is somehow evil, that that is somehow manipulative, that that somehow has too much power and needs to be squashed down by the true authorities. And who are those true authorities? Those are the ones who had control of the information for a very, very, very long time. And with that control of information, they got us into wars. They robbed us. Inflation, deflation, all this other complex, stupid monetary talk that all these butt wipes master and try to frickin' confuse people with automatically what they're saying is we're taking a lot of your money and robbing the value of the money that you worked for, and we're pretty much taking everything away from you, and you're going to be naked and blind from it. That's
So
essentially
eloquently said.
That's essentially what they're doing here, and it's important to understand here their approach to it is, in a matter of fact, very telling of where they are themselves. Because their approach to it is, of course, they can't hit everyone, they can't destroy everyone, they have to convince everyone that this is somehow the right, justified, right thing to do, that we have to fight hate. People aren't buying that, but they still need to keep repeating the lie often enough so people supposedly buy it. The reason they're doing that, the reason they're doing it so ominously, so in the shadows, so much so it creates a chilling effect. That's why Dan has said, oh, delete some of there's no exact information saying you did this and this and this. There's no exact information saying why you got banned or who you got banned. It's to set a chilling effect to scare everyone else, because truly they are scared themselves, and the only thing they have is this illusion, and once we break through this illusion, really it's game over for them, and I feel like they think it's game over for them already, and that's why they're being so egregious, such big liars, and taking such big risks right now to try to squash and destroy independent media. We've been hit by this from the early onset. We were the first channels to be to have our videos demonetized without explanation, without even a yellow check mark. People were granted the ability to have a yellow check mark. We didn't even have the yellow check mark back in the day. We were warning in 2008, hey, they're coming. They're coming for you. This is not going to be a good platform. I should have been smarter and set up more of an email list, a database, but that's my ignorance and my mistake that I made on there. But, you know, essentially they pretty much lured everyone in like, hey, free information. Hey, you could communicate with one another here. And we were like, yeah, this is great. Code of conduct's great. It makes sense. And then slowly but surely, they're like, We lost too much power. We need it back. And their power is just an illusion. It's about us realizing that.
Well, back then they started trying to put pen to paper, with PIPA, ACTA, SOPA. They've been trying to shut down the free flow of information online for years, and it's like all those things got squashed. They were rejected, and they try to rename it and rebrand it, and then it would get rejected again. Now they're just going for it. They're like, screw it. We don't need to create a law. We'll just do it. And they're just doing it. They're just doing it now.
Well, remember when a lot of these big companies at the time, you mentioned SOPA, PIPA, ACTA, all that kind of stuff. Remember when they would go black? And there's a lot of the big companies that today are supporting this censorship. They're virtue signaling. They would go black. They'd make their page look black or something in protest of
like
these
Reddit.
acts. And in the end, what I find really interesting is the concept of, these are private companies. They've gotten billions of dollars if you consider the contracts they've had with governments around the world. So, they're quasi-private, I guess, but I find it interesting that you hear so often from the left, especially, we have to go after all these big bad corporations, never mind them being private or whatever, But then when Google and YouTube try to censor, people that aren't within, the establishment viewpoint, then it's like, oh, that's okay because they're hateful people. We need to shut them down. These big bad corporations are doing what they rightfully can do. And it's just this crazy thing that they've manipulated people to only support things when it benefits their viewpoint.
It works in tandem with collectivization and how this Marxist ideology in schools is pumping out this idea that we're all a collective individual. So if I'm saying something hateful about immigration or the trans community or something, it's a direct attack on all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we have to shatter this collectivism thinking and get back to, the freedom of the individual, and that's what we need to focus on moving forward.
Individual liberty is definitely key, and that's what I think we're all trying to build on this next platform, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Somewhere where every user comes in and does truly own their data, or at least isn't fucking censored. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really all we're asking about. Because I just remember I was in college when you guys were all, coming up around 2008, 2009, freshman, sophomore, learned about all this shit, and I just remember how explosively popular your pages were. They blew up my feed. You know what I mean? And it's not like you guys changed. If anything, you got better. You know what I mean? Maybe you refined your craft. It's just so insane to see them be able to incrementally and draconianly, frankly, take it away. And even for us, when me and Pat started in 2018, we had this one video. It referenced immigration somehow. Oh, because it was there were a bunch of hippie protesters protesting City Hall. There was the ICE camps or whatever in Philly. They were protesting that. And there was this crazy altercation that happened where the police were just sent in, and they kind of went in and just kicked shit out of the camps and stuff. And it all got on video and shit. So I took some of that, and I also recorded some other things, made a little piece about it. And it was fine to put online, right? So I'm on Facebook, I put it online. And then I go to boost it on Facebook, and then out of nowhere, this ad blocker robot thing just comes out of nowhere. You can't monetize anything relating to immigration, any of that. And dude, we might have had 300 Facebook likes when we did this. So that's how good they're getting at this point. So that's why it's imperative to build something new.
Well, and I think this is really also important to mention. People say they're only censoring conservative stuff and stuff like that. I think they're just censoring at this point about everything. When I do a video, for example, Trump said he's going to pull troops out of Syria, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Let's look a bit closer at that. I think there's more to the story. And people said, oh, you're just attacking Trump and all that kind of stuff. And CNN was wrongfully attacking him and all that kind of stuff for pulling troops out of Syria. Well, then 2 weeks later, what happens is he says, well, actually, we're not going to pull troops out of Syria because we need to protect Israel and protect the world. That's his quote exactly. He said it to CNBC, but no one covered it. CNN was continuing to call him racist and all this stuff, but they weren't talking about the fact that he is leaving troops in Syria. And it's when there's a reason to truly attack a politician for something that they're really saying or doing, then they don't talk about it. They only talk about it when it's nonsense, and it's in order to rile up one side that believes it and rile up the other side that doesn't believe it and clash them against each other. It's a form of divide and conquer.
Yes.
It's in order to only get us angry about the things that don't matter, and then just completely hide the real problems away. So we're attacking each other, distracted by each other, instead of actually focusing on the real enemies of mankind, the real evils that we're facing on a day-to-day basis. Instead, we're these identity politics stuff. Let's yell at each other and shout at each each other. Well, what about those guys over there? Oh, never mind that. The media told me I had to be mad about this. Fox News said this. CNN says this. Now we got to clash because one is black or white. You know, one is right and one is wrong. And I think it's really confused the populace, and it's why we are starving for more independent media all the time.
Exactly.
It's so important because I actually believe that we've properly stopped wars to some extent through this kind of information. Because, I mean, think about it. If the Iraq War happened in the time of YouTube and Facebook, there still would have been a war, but I don't think it would have been as intense as it was.
Yeah.
I mean, look at things like Syria.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, everyone knew that was a false flag. Obviously, Assad, 3 days after being told that, you know, he's going to be let off the hook, wasn't going to go chemical gas his own people, and then 1 year later to the day, the same exact thing happens. And we're supposed to believe that Assad, for no reason, bombs his own people, and YouTube was on that within moments. It was all over the place. Everyone knew on left or right or outside of that spectrum knew that that was nonsense. And I believe that's how you stop wars, because they stopped talking about it immediately. They knew it wouldn't work. Oh, Vegas shooting, let's ban all the guns. Didn't work, because immediately everyone was like, nah, this is stupid. And within days, they weren't talking about the worst mass shooting in U.S. history.
That fucking vanished.
Yeah.
That was like the craziest story when it broke. Everyone was like, this is the end. Like, finally, society's finally collapsed. And now it just goes. No
Yeah.
one talks about it at all.
If it doesn't work, they cancel it and try something else.
Yeah, it's
And-
like a bad show on
Yeah.
sitcom.
Yeah, exactly. If 9/11 happened nowadays, I have a feeling that it would have been, people would have stopped talking about it like within 2 years, because it's like, oh well, people aren't willing to go to war, so maybe we need to do something else. Maybe we got to try something else. I don't know. That's just my opinion, but it's so crazy.
And regardless of what any quantitative incremental change that you can measure, the immeasurables is really where the action happens. You know what I mean? Like, even if you just make small changes in people's lives and get them to flee a regime that isn't good for them, you know what I mean? That's almost as important as actually getting up there and clashing with the Titans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, this is why events like Anarchadelphia are so important. You know, we're at that crucial fork in the road kind of moment where it can go a number of ways, and having events like that where we can get like-minded people out to spread our messages is really important right now. I think awareness is still pretty key. So that's why I'm pretty excited about attending there and speaking at
Yeah, I'm
this.
pretty sure all three of you guys are going to show up, right?
Yeah, I'd like to compete against Dan here for the promo code, but he just got demonetized, so everyone should probably use his promo code.
There you
to be
go.
honest.
Promo
It's
code
promo code
PFT.
WRC.
PFT. Save
WRC,
10%.
just put that in there. 10% off. Support Dan Dix at the same time.
PFT, everyone. Well, guys, we're going to be looking forward to having way more discussions like this on a way bigger stage in front of way more people. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Red Pill.
Yeah, man.
it, man.
Thanks.
All right.
If you enjoy this type of content, smash the likes, because it really does help spread the message. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button, otherwise you will not get notified when we drop dope videos like this. Anarchadelphia is gonna be sick. We've already sold quite a few tickets, so we're definitely having a party. You can get your tickets at anarchadelphia.com. The schedule is there, as well as some info about our after parties. And speaking about a pre-party, we're headed out to Anarcho Vegas. If you haven't gotten your ticket yet, you can use promo code TSOA at checkout. With respect to the OG, where TSOA was catalyzed, where so many more minds will meet at Anarcho Vegas, this is a movement. The state of anarchy is now. Anarchadelphia is a conference dedicated to the principles of liberty, individual sovereignty, and freedom from coercion, located in Philadelphia, the cradle of liberty. Anarchadelphia seeks to shed light on issues such as geopolitics, blockchain economics, spiritual health and wellness, as well as exposing the Earth's sacred hidden knowledge, featuring Mark Passio, Max Egan, Derek Brose, Jeff Berwick, and many more this September 13th through 15th. For info and tickets, visit anarchadelphia.com.